Okay, everybody, hello. So it's a casual Tuesday for me. I was all glammed up yesterday, so easy day. Here's Beardy, and Beardy's yelling at us. I can't even see him. He's like, what's that? Oh, is that you? He doesn't know what to think about that. Anyways, random. So today I wanted to show you guys how to make I named them flares. I don't know why, but this is just a wire wrap style that I learned watching a bracelet tutorial by Handmade. And then I kind of turned it into my own thing. The bracelets are beautiful, but at that time I don't know, I just wanted to make earrings and pendants. So this is what I'm talking about. So you can make these at home, pretty easy, just with the 2 different gauges of wire. You don't have to have chain, you can have cord or old chain at home. But mostly I'm going to be showing you the wire wrap, and then depending how long it takes, I guess, I'll show you how to make the earring hooks, or you can buy earring hooks. But it's pretty simple. Well, I say that. I definitely had to watch the video like 2 or 3 times and pause at certain spots. But I'm going to do my best to show you and the little things that I learned throughout the process. So first off, let's talk. And at some point I'm going to put my phone on the holder thing. So I try to set up this area so it looks decent. So you'll need your wire. You can do, so you're going to want like 18 gauge, or you could do a little thicker. This is going to be your main wire that all the beads set on, and you're going to wrap the thinner gauge around your 18 gauge wire. So you could do silver, gold, whatever color you have in 18 gauge. I just use this wire from Beadsmith. You can get it at Hobby Lobby, or they also have it at Michael's. And then after you practice, you can move on to some real silver and real gold if you have that. And then I think in Lana's video she says to use 26 gauge wire to do the wrapping. I found it a little too thin, and like I like to have a little more stiff where the shape doesn't change as often. So I went ahead and did up a gauge. So I did 24 gauge wire. It's a little harder to work with, I guess, than the 26 gauge, but really it's not. And different combinations of wire are going to give you like slightly different effects, but because this is a thinner gauge wire, that's why you'll see it's double stranded, and that's what kind of gives it that cool little extra, I don't know. And then the tools you use are your wire cutters, flush cutters. I gotta be careful, I keep doing that. Really mostly your hands for this one. You might want to have some nylon jaw pliers around, just in case you mess up and you need to straighten out a wire, or you go in the wrong direction, or just to keep your wires straight. And then like something little, if you need you'll need something to squeeze your little sections together, or just to do your micro adjustments. But really you might be able to completely do this without, I mean, obviously you need something to cut the wire, but you might be able to do this with even less tools. I also like to have a little hand file around. You can try using your nail files, but you're gonna get pretty beat up. You can get a set of all these little tool files for like 10 bucks. This is just so the ends of your thing aren't gonna be pokey or splintering. Not the biggest deal, but it's just an extra precaution you can take. So you can do this with any size bead pretty much. The beads I have here are 8mm, so they're a little larger. If you want a slightly daintier look, you can use 6mm. those are both really common sizes that you can use. And then I thought, since I'm doing this live, I didn't really choose the colors yet. But, so I've got, I don't know, I don't see anybody in here, so I might be on my own for choosing these colors. But you can do, I usually stick with 5 beads. But I still have some of these black and gold left, so that could be cool with, these are kind of faceted, so if I do a faceted one, I want it all to match. You don't, this is where you kind of have some freedom. You could do a pattern, you could do all different colors. Since it's 5, you could do most of the rainbow. But I don't know. I think for demonstration purposes, I should show you with the 8mm beads. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna stick this on the thing now. We're gonna choose our beads we want and we're gonna get to it. Give me a little second. I'm still learning how to use this the best way and get it angled, and Facebook Live is yelling at me, you can't rotate your device right now. I'm so used to putting things right up close to my face, so this is good practice for me to kind of demonstrate on the camera. Because if I put it right up close to my face where I can see it, you're not going to be able to see it. But this little design I just got super addicted to. I think it's really pretty. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. I should not have poured all these beads out. And this is kind of just me stalling, hoping more people come in here. Let's get all those guys out of our way. So I said we're going to go ahead and do the 8mm size beads just for tutorial purposes. They're still really pretty and dainty. It's just going to be a little bit, I guess, a little heavier. Let's see what we've got in here hanging out in the miscellaneous gemstones. Well, if anybody's in here, feel free to, I think I can see my comments this time around. Uh-oh, I don't. I guess maybe since Father's Day's coming up, we could try to make this design with some tiger eye. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I like to do this tiger eye in brown. I think it's really pretty, and the lava bead with gold. It is, you know, unisex. You could do it however, but I think, okay, hear me out. I think that's what I'm gonna go with. So I get a lot of these like variety gemstones, and sometimes I'm half guessing what they are. There's a lot of dyed gemstones out there now. Unless it says specifically on the packaging, I'm kind of at the mercy of my little knowledge and whatnot. So here's a pattern I'm thinking. Is it a brown lava stone with tiger eye? I don't know what this is. Anybody? I think that might be jasper or agate. And then the other tiger eye here, make sure it kind of matches this one. And then another brown lava stone. And this will be more of like a neutral colors. So you can kind of play around with your patterns in that way. I always just stick to 5, so that's what I'm going to show you. So I think those are the colors we're going to go with. And then again, we're making this kind of pendant. Once you know the wrap, you can make as many or as few of your color design as you like. Or you can make a second one and turn it into earrings, whatever way you want to go. So let me go ahead and set these beads aside so they're ready for when we're ready. I'm just gonna put them in this little thing. The funny thing is, like, I use a lot of stuff like makeshiftly. Like, there's my little bead holder for right now. Oh, the other thing you're gonna need is something to measure. My little tape measure. I like to use the ones, what do you call them, dressmakers. So I usually do the 18 gauge wire when I'm doing this about 5 inches. If you're and you'll have a little left on the bottom to play with. But I usually do about 5 inches if I'm doing 8mm beads. If I'm doing 6mm beads, you can go a little less than that. Depends how much wire you're okay with having kind of letting go of. I don't know what I got going on right here. Anyways, let's go ahead and cut that. So I just use my nylon jaw. You can also use your hands. The nylon jaw, usually they have like this plasticky so that they can straighten your wire without scraping anything off. And then measure out about 5 inches, and then I'll show you the other side of the ruler so you guys can see what that is in centimeters. So about 5 inches. Like, honestly, 4.5 is fine, but when you're just starting, sometimes it's nice to have a little extra wire. And then when you cut with this side, see this slanted, see how this has 2 different sides? If you cut with this side facing your wire, you're gonna get the flat cut. If that makes sense. And then that's less filing and stuff you have to do. If you cut the other way, you're gonna end up with an angled cut and it's gonna be pointy. So on centimeter side, that same 5 centimeters was about 13.5. The 5 inches was about 13.5 centimeters here. Now you can use your round nose. If you have bail pliers, you can also use those. And you're just going to start with a simple little loop. And again, I'm getting used to doing this in front of a camera in a way that you guys can see it. So if you have any advice on how to hold something, please let me know. I should be able to see comments this time around. So you just want to get your little loop, and then I kind of grab, once I make the loop just a bit, twist it so that you got that little shepherd's cane, which is going to keep your wire more centered. Oh. And then your thinner gauge wire. So what I've noticed is no matter what size you have in your 18 gauge, when you're going to do your longer wire, it's about double that length. So we're gonna go ahead and cut 2 10-inch strands of the 24 gauge wire. As you see, this wire is a lot thinner and movier. If it's super crimpy, you might not want to use that section because it could translate into your piece, or you can try to straighten it out. I have messed up my nylon jaw pliers pushing too hard on these thinner wires, but for the most part, as you twist and put that pressure on them and the tension, it should go pretty straight. So where's my favorite little dressmaker tool for jewelry? I always say I use this thing way more for making my jewelry than I ever did. 10 centimeters, or I'm messing you guys up, 10 inches. And just cut that guy. And in centimeters, that is about 26. I'm gonna try to pull this as straight as I can. It's about 26, almost 26.5 centimeters. The second piece of the wire is my favorite because I already have the first piece cut and I don't have to measure. This isn't really one of those projects that you can work on and leave your wire on the spool. All right, now you have your 3 pieces of wire. We're gonna go ahead and get those out of the way. Our beads we're gonna be using. So you're gonna take your 2 pieces of wire and match up the ends and kind of straighten them out, and you want to get your ends to meet, and you don't want to crimp it, but you do kind of want to find that center piece. I always find starting this piece is the hardest part. Another tip is make sure your loop is closed, otherwise when you go to start your piece, your wire might slip up into the little crevice. And so I always just go through and make sure that's closed as tightly as I can get it. All right, so you got your center part, and you want to try to keep these wires lined up. And I usually start on my left. So the wire, I start it behind, right? This is good practice for me because sometimes when you're trying to teach someone, you think you sound really good teaching them and they're totally not following along anymore because you've lost them at like some fancy word or technique. All right, so I start with my wire behind. And then I kind of just hold it lightly behind there. And this part is the hardest because you don't have anything else like to gripping. So it's all going to be about how you grip your wire. So hold it to the best of your ability. And you're going to take that wire it's going to be on my left. And you're going to fold it over in front the best you can. And under, bam. You're gonna do that one more time, and you want to try to get the coil underneath, and then that way you come back on the same side you started on. Now this wire, other wire, you are still gonna fold it just once around. Just once, and then I kind of pull it diagonal. Oh my gosh, you know what? You actually need 4 pieces of these wires. My apologies. Because you'll have to do that first process after the first bead with 2 more pieces of that 26 gauge wire. And then you can use whatever tool or your hands, and I like to... This is why I really want a GoPro, because I could put it on my forehead, and so when I'm looking down at the piece, you're looking down at the piece, because in reality, that's how I do it. But right now I've got my shoulders outstretched trying to show you, so if my technique's a little off. All right, you could slide your first bead on if you want, or you can wait. And then you're going to take 2 more pieces of your 10-inch length wire and do that first step again. So let's go ahead and cut those since I made a mistake and forgot to do that. So So that's all I'm doing is taking the 26 gauge wire and measuring out 2 more 10-inch pieces. I have the really bad tendency to put my tools wherever when I'm done, and then I like have to look for them. This is not as like simple to show on camera as a necklace with the moon I made yesterday. And I put a slight bit more height behind this, so I'm a little nervous in my own weird way. All right, so I got my other 2 pieces of 10-inch wire, 26 gauge cut. I got that first bead on after I started this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing. You want your ends to meet. Kind of find your middle, but don't crease it, just lightly. Some people use Sharpie to mark their wire. That's an option. Whatever you feel comfortable with. So you want to, again, hold this. It does not have to be right under your bead right now because you can push it up. So if you remember right, we hold it the best we can in place. You're going to take and do that same process I just showed you. Once over, under, again over. Keep your coils lined up to the best of your ability, and under. So you're going to end on the same side you started on. And then that top wire, since it's already under, you're just going to go over. And see how I have that gap there? I can fix that here in a minute, but I try to wrap my coils as closely together as possible. And under, and I kind of pull it down diagonally, and you'll see that this piece isn't exactly the same on both sides. And I'll show you what I mean. And now see how I left that space between those coils? I'm just going to take my little precision pliers here and push those together so it makes a nice solid link. Bam! And then if your 18 gauge bends a little bit through this, you can straighten it. And your wires might kind of twist around. You just have to kind of fix them as you go. So on my left side, those wires are on the bottom of the coil. On my right side, the wires are on the top of the coil, if that makes any sense. And then that's how I keep my place. All right, let's add our next bead, and everything is so super easy from here. Honestly, it's the most tedious part is just starting it. It's just like yoga. The hardest part is getting to your mat. This guy knows. He took so long to get to his mat that he turned into bones, or she, I don't know. Because you've got ash. Like, he's even starting to turn into ash. No, it's because the boyfriend used my skeleton as an incense burner. It is not an incense burner. All right, so we said I said the next bead I wanted to do was the tiger eye. So you slide that on. And it really is important that you're paying attention to what angle you're starting on, and make sure you do that same side every time. Because I'm not sure if you can see in this piece, but do you see how these middle 3 beads kind of are framed by the wire? That's only going to happen on one side because your other side doesn't mean it's going to look bad, but your other side isn't going to have that same framing. But you're still going to want your coils to look good in case, and even in case somebody chooses to wear it that way. Does that make sense? You got like a little crissy-cross over here, but the side we're going to work from, you're not going to see that crisscross till you're done and turn the piece around. So this is the side we're working from, just the plain stacking the coil side. In the meantime, this is what's happening on the other side, is they start framing the bead. Okay. So now you got your second bead on. So above that first bead, we're going to take that wire that's at the bottom of the coils, or on my left hand side. I'm going to bring it under the other wire so that I can use that other wire later. So under, and then kind of around that second bead. And then I'm just going to kind of bend it so it's kind of framing right there. And you're going to do the same thing. Over, under once. And then over, under the second time. And now that tail's on the other side. My bearded dragon is asking to come out right now. I think he has to go potty. Now you take the one on the top side of the coils, and I left this little gap right here. So you're actually going to take that upper wire and do it above these little coils. So this is just the first time I'm trying to do this tutorial, kind of just forcing myself to get used to it so I can learn the better way to teach people. I realize what's in my brain doesn't always translate easier to other brains. So the second coil there, and I'm going to try to wrap it in that little gap I left above. Over and under. And that one you only do once. I don't know why, it's just that way. And then let me show you the other side. So you can see that it's starting to make that frame. And here's the side. All right, once you do that, you add your next, and you're happy with that. If you need to do any tightening or anything, go ahead. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. Bearded dragon saved my life, I swear to God. All right, so let's take our third bead. I'm gonna go ahead and slide him on to the 18 gauge. That's our center. That's our main wire that we're working on. Now you're gonna take, so you never want to use the wire that's directly above your bead. You want to use the wire that is above the bead that you're currently on. And you want to start from the same direction. And again, you're going to kind of wrap around under that wire so you can use that next. Under your main wire. Over. That's one. I'm going to do it again. And then bring you back out. Bam. That's twice. Next wire you do, you're only going to do it once. I don't know why it's that way, it just is. There's something, it's like braiding. Again, you want to go under the wires that you're going to work with so that they stay free. Under that bead, and where that little gap we left, you're going to wrap around the top part of your coil Just once, and then pull and straighten. So I probably could have done this a little tighter, but since I'm doing this on camera, my wrap is a little loose, but this is just for tutorial purposes. It does take a couple times. I usually have this like a 1/4 inch away from my face, and right now it's about 1 foot. So, and so you're starting to frame that bead. You can do, like, this wire is still pretty malleable where you can kind of shape it if you need to, but starting to do the framing. All right. And I put this end time of this video at 2:15, but it really shouldn't take that long. Of course, my beardy wants to come out now when I'm doing something because that's always how it is. Can you wait? Can you wait? Can you just wait a second? You can't? You're just fine. And honestly, like what you guys see on like Facebook and everything, sometimes it's taken me a lot of times and a lot of mess ups and a lot of scrap wire to even get my semi-perfect. I don't really believe in perfection. I think that is a kind of like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder. I do believe in improving and taking feedback and constructive criticism though. Let's get our next bead on, doing another tiger eye. This is really making me want some coffee. It's definitely got like latte vibes to it. Again, start on the same side. Go under the wire so that wire is free to use. Kind of shape around the bead just a little bit and over. And then over the second time and under. Straighten that. And then we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to wrap around the bead and above the 2 coils you just made. And just once. And however tight you pull your wire is how tight or loose your framing of the beads is going to be. So you do want to try to get at least a similar tension, or you're going to have like a super tight loop and then a super loose loop and then a super tight loop. You also want to try to make sure your wires are staying right next to each other and not crisscrossing, because that will also translate. All that stuff makes it sound a lot harder than it is. It's really just a practice thing. And as an artist, you're always going to see things yourself that other people don't see. Try not to hyper focus, and remember it's about what your piece looks at the end, because sometimes things don't look quite right and then you get to the end and you're like, oh, that's why it looked funny halfway through. All right, we're already on our last bead. Do you see? We've only been doing this for half an hour, and at least 10 minutes I was blah 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 blabbing about tools. All right, and you can leave those wires for now. Anytime I've preemptively cut my wires, I've ended up cutting the wrong ones. So again, under your wires so you can leave them free. And you leave that little gap between the bead for when you do your second wire wrap. So over, under, come out here, go under the same coil. What I mean by under is you'll see when you're wrapping, you can either wrap on top of the wrap you just did, or you can kind of get your bead, your coil to line up under so it's not so thick. It's up to you if you want it to be longer or if you rather overlap and make it shorter. All right, and then we're gonna take this guy and go ahead and line it up to that top. And you're gonna put it in that little gap. I'm just gonna go over it once and kind of, all right, we are already ready to kind of finish this piece. Let me show you the other side. So it's not a huge difference, and it's definitely wearable on both sides, but you'll see that one side sits a little smoother and has more framing around the beads. I've also used this same style to make, instead of using it all around the bracelet, I'll use it to make like a bracelet main feature and then add chain. So I usually finish them off without a loop though, but if you wanted to make it into a bracelet and do it horizontally, or even a horizontal necklace, you could finish it with a loop instead of pushing it down. It's just, again, personal choice. And let's see if I have any of those bracelets right here to show you what I mean. There you go. So in this style, I've left it horizontal, and so there's a loop on both sides, so I could attach something to either side. Whereas with this, there's no loop. I kind of closed it off, so it's like a finished piece. I've had quite a few people request for the pendant to be horizontal versus vertical. So again, just personal artist choice. Yes, I'm holding on to my little anxiety safety blanket vape here. And then give me one moment and we will finish this off. When you finish it off, you want to make sure you're still working from that back side without the crisscrosses. You always want to be working from this back side, or the same side. Oh yes, you want to come say hello? Got the beardy out right now. Move my camera. It is. Hello. Say hello. Tell everybody you had to interrupt Mom's video. Did you have to come interrupt? And he knows he's not supposed to be out when I've got all my beads out and stuff, and that makes him want to come out even more. What do you think? Center of attention? You just can't stand it when you're not paying attention to him. Yes, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you. Yes, I am. See my beautiful tool storage right there? Those two tools I used in this video are just thrown on the couch. This is Beardy. He's the baby. Big baby. No, you can't. Anyways, I'm trying to let him out for a second. I have to keep my eye pretty close on him though, because I do work with a lot of small stuff, so I don't like, he's always got lots of supervision from Mama. He's pretty good. He doesn't really eat anything he's not supposed to, but you know, it's gonna be that one time. And right now he's not even running around. He just wanted to come hang out. What it is he doesn't like to go potty in his tank. Does he go and potty right now? It makes cleanup easier as long as I'm here to let him out. But he's quite spoiled. Anyways, when I finish my wires off, I usually just kind of do a little bit of a wrap and I pull it really tight, so when I cut, I don't have too much excess wire to work with. And that's when these angled cutters are going to come in handy. I haven't really found an easier way to finish these off other than just cutting as close as I can. Make sure cutting the right wires, and then basically folding the ends in a little bit where they're not gonna, so cut as close as you can. And then I take my precision pliers and I just kind of manipulate those to lay them flat so that they're not affecting the look of the piece or the feel of the piece. So you really can't see, you want to run your hand, make sure that you don't have any stabby things. So you'll see right here how this kind of makes its own little design too. Unfortunately, I've only gotten it to do that on the, never does the first or last bead, just everything in between. So no matter what size you do, you'll get that, won't get that same framed bead on the first and last one. Now, if somebody knows a way around that, I would be very interested to learn. So again, just want to fold these kind of close and cut. Getting into trouble? Getting into trouble over here? Yes, you are. Oh my goodness. Good Lord. Good Lord. Sorry guys, the beardy decided to go potty and I gotta clean that up. Ugh. Goodness gracious. Can you go back in your apartment now that you went potty so Mom can finish this? Good Lord, Beardy. Ugh. Good Lord. What you eating these days? Not to mention he decided to crawl in it this time, so I gotta wipe him down and he's gonna need a little bath later. Yes, from here, get a good boy, back to your apartment. Back to your apartment for a little. Mom let you out when she's done. Oh, Jesus. Let me just wash my hands and I'll be right back. Goodness gracious. No troublemaker is what you are. Well, that's the problem with doing lives versus tutorials, is sometimes you get a little tied up. So I just wash my hands, because anybody who knows reptiles, or anytime you're dealing with any type of animal poop, you should just wash your hands, because they carry diseases and etc. And that's honestly where most of the disease lives, is in the animals' poop. All right, let's cut that guy. These wire ends. It's really hard for me to show you guys exactly what I see and how to explain it. If anybody knows anybody who's selling a GoPro for really cheap, or like a camera that has the charger, I would love that. Or if you have any advice on how you do some of your videos, Again, just a reminder, I only have a phone. I only have an iPhone and I do everything on there. And I have a computer too, but it's like 8 years old and it's really slow. So, all right. So here's that last part I was telling you about. Now, I think I'll just, I don't know what way I want to show you guys. If I want to show you the finished or if I want to show you the loop. Well, if you're going to do a loop, make sure your wire's closed. You're going to cut about, leave yourself about like that much, like a 1/2 inch of room to do your loop. And I would recommend do the open part of your loop the opposite direction of the open part of your top loop. So that would just involve, either way, you're going to cut it down to about that length, maybe just a little shorter. When you've been doing this a while, you can kind of eyeball it. And make sure you stay working from the back. File that end down a little bit, depending what you're doing. So if you're doing the loop, you're just gonna go ahead and use your round nose again and make your loop. I might have cut that a little short. I don't usually do the loops. The more you work with wire, the more forgiving you're gonna realize your wire is. Again, you rather have excess and go back than have too short and have to start over. And you cut your loop and that should hold your beads on. So that's ready to be made into a vertical, or I mean a horizontal bracelet or pendant. Or you can just finish it off with the loop. If you like that look, you can add a dangle. Now, if you want to finish it off how I finished it, where's that little chunk of wire? Let's pretend this is still attached here. So if you want to finish it off the other way, I work from the back. That way I fold my wire up the right way. You'll cut it down at whatever length, right? Do your filing. And then I usually just leave a tiny little tail. I take these and just bend it like a half loop, you know, or like a J. And then I take my whatever I want to use to flatten them, and I just flatten that as much as I can, and I usually try to keep the wires inside of where I'm flattening it, and it just holds it like an extra guard. And then that's what gives you that, how I finish off these usually. But yeah, it's really, again, it's art, so you do have freedom of expression as long as you're getting the end result you want. If not, that's when you want to go back and refine or watch a few more videos or rewatch the video. But yeah, I mean, it really is pretty easy. And the only reason it took this long is because I've been interrupted and I'm trying to teach you and learn my camera angles. But once you make at least 2 of these, you'll be flying through them. All right, well, I said this would go till about 2:15. So I guess I can show you how to make an earring hook real quick, or I can show you the components that go on a chain. So earring hooks, I usually make out of 20 gauge. It's flexible, but it could still be stiff, and I find that 18 gauge doesn't fit through my ear holes very good personally. So you want to take 20 gauge wire, and you want about an 1.5 inches of wire. or 2 inches is also good. I'll just show you the 2 inches because those are the original measurements I used when I first started making my earring hooks. It is important when you're doing your earring hooks to file because that is going to be going through someone's ear, and you do not want to have loose metal or little metal pieces. To always file both ends. Even if I might do another cut, I can always file again later. But I don't want to forget to file. And that just leaves your ends nice and smooth. For earrings, I usually like to use my bail pliers because they have a few different sizes. And so what I do for my earrings is I use the smallest one here, and I'll make a little loopy loop. And that way it's always the same size loop. And then got my loop. And then I put the little music note part of the loop underneath. And then I use this bigger one and fold over that bigger one. That's it. So you can attach that and make it into an earring. If you're gonna do a necklace, you're gonna want your chain. You can either get a pre-made chain or pre-cut length of chain, and then your jump rings and a clasp. So I like to use kind of a smaller jump rings, or like a medium size, I guess. You can also make your own jump rings, but I'm not quite there. Make my own earring hooks now, but not yet my own jump rings. And your clasp. Whatever length of wire. I usually do about 20-inch length of wire, but for tutorial purposes, let's pretend this was 18 gauge or whatever, or 18 inches of wire. So to make my clasp, I'll usually add a hook to the pendant, so I can add the pendant on easily to any wire, any cord. So to open your jump rings, it's just simply like a little left to right. You don't want to pull them open. You want to work in opposing directions to kind of open it. Attach your pendant onto that jump ring. And then you'll just, when you're ready with your finished wire, don't put it through the wire chain, just put it onto the wire. Close your jump ring just by squeezing it shut. Sometimes you have to do a micro adjustment if it's not closed, and bam. Now, to finish your chain off, again, you're going to open a jump ring. You're going to have to do this on both ends of your chain. So there's like the end of the chain, right? And there's that little loop-de-loop. And you want to do your best. Make sure that jump ring is in the loop. Close the loop. Make sure you have no gaps, or your jump ring will fall off and your necklace will fall off of your person. But bam. I like to do one just for protection, and then I add the clasp on the second jump ring. So open that next jump ring, put it on there, then add your clasp. This is called a lobster claw. Close your jump ring. There we go. And then for the other side, I usually do like 3 jump rings on the other side so they can change the size a little bit of the chain. But on the other side, same thing. Just work it through the chain hole. So you want at least big enough chain to fit your jump rings through. through the chain hole. Make sure it's through the hole. Close it. Bam, you got your necklace. This is just a little gold bracelet actually right now. This is just a length of chain. I save all my scraps because I use them in earrings, or if I want to do a little chain extender. So I save all my scraps. Call it hoarder tendencies, whatever you'd like. It does come in handy. So there's your necklace or your bracelet or whatever. We're pretending that that is 18-inch and long enough to do a necklace. So I usually do the chain first, and then I attach the pendant. I showed you a little backwards. I already got the pendant on the jump ring this time around. Open the jump ring. And this makes it easy so your customer can also attach it to a chain of their choice. Not through the chain hole this time. Not for the pendant, because you want to be able to slide a little bit. And if you don't get it perfectly centered, it will drive you nuts. So you want to leave the chain so it can free fly through that one. Close your pendant, or I mean your jump ring that your pendant's on. Make sure it's closed and no gaps so your pendant or your chain doesn't fall off. And that's it. We are done. So thank you for bearing with me through this live. I'm not super used to it. So do look for some more of these, and hopefully this translates into, you know, YouTube videos and tutorials once I get my right tools and cameras and stuff. I started a part-time like 9-to-5 type thing so I can have a little more money to invest into my business. Since I'm in my first year, sales aren't super awesome yet, but that's okay. The first year is the hardest, and I've also applied for some grants, so I'm really hoping to get some better tools and a better setup so that I can give you the content that I want to give you. But yeah, yay, we did it, guys. We did it. But again, I talked through this whole thing. Lan Handmade. She's got a bunch of YouTube videos. I'll try to tag her in a comment or something. But she's got a YouTube channel and a Facebook page. But she's a very good teacher. She does not speak in her videos. She just like shows you, and she's been doing it a little while longer. So like her video editing is able to like point out specific things and everything. And that's kind of where I like to get. But I learned this style. She does a whole bracelet made this way. So I learned this style from her, and I just turned it into pendants and earrings because I'm me. And again, thank you so much for those of you that tuned in. Hopefully I'll be doing this again soon. Not hopefully, I will be doing this again soon. If you are on my page or a follower or family, stay on me, because it's the only way I'm going to get better and get more used to this. Bleh. And thank you guys. Sorry about the beardy interruption. When nature calls, it calls. Well, I hope you all have a great day. If you have any questions or want to know about the website or want to order one of these custom and you don't want to make it, you want me to make it, that's cool. Just let me know. That's what I'm here for. Thanks for joining Arisen Visions. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.